What's up, people? One Nut Punch here. So I picked up this game for about $10 on Steam called Deepest Chamber Resurrection, and this is a card game that was about like $10 on sale until November 7th, and the full asking price about $13. My understanding from this scenario too is that when you play this game, you'll have a scripted death because even though I did like maybe 300-400 damage to the thing before he killed my party, this headless creature will smack the hell out of you, and then you'll go to the main menu screen, and it'll ask you for like data collection or something like that, and then you'll be able to do a couple of trades from some merchants that are in the main menu. Essentially, the game is you are underground because of some plague or some horrific thing with fire, and now you're all living underground, and you have to go and become these like party of 3 out of 7 different characters to explore these dungeons to find treasure and see how dungeons go. But essentially you're talking to the Pope, which is this guy that was been dead for a while. Somebody decided to take his body and use his power, and then it gets to the main menu screen, and then this is when the game starts off. Deepest Chamber Resurrection is a card game that has these different mechanics of you have 3 different party members: a warrior, I think a sorcerer, and then maybe like a warlock, or no, not a warlock, a cleric, and it'll have like healing abilities. You'll have a sword swing. You'll have a fireball. Different abilities like Scorch, that's a 0 cost card that does 3 damage, and then you could have different trinkets and armor that will be able to increase your stats, have more block, being able to swing more, and so on and so forth. So the game does have some different variants of things. It's not a whole lot, and there's like very select few of like items you could pick from armor to shoes to maybe some different type of potions you can make, because the game has also an alchemy station, and you can make different potions before you start the run. Every run that you will have a provision to where you get gold or you get a potion. You'll also be able to get a trinket before you start the actual match of being able to do 3 times of something, whether it be getting a buff, getting more money, and then you go through like the weird roguelike or roguelite element of picking a different area, whether it be combat, elite, event, or being able to rest your characters. Then they have the upgradable cards that every single turn or every time you go into combat, you could upgrade a card and have more damage, have increased effect, and so on. Whether you want to have more healing or a fireball does more damage, that's how it would work. When you get into combat, there are these weird dialogue options that they will have or they'll say, and they'll talk about specific events that will pop up in the tutorial, like resurrection sickness, or being able to fight a new creature that has a specific ability, and then being able to pick on the portrait of the character, click on the enemy that's about to attack, and he will auto attack that person instead of your character that's wounded. There'll be different cards in the game too, like defend and fireball, but once you use that card, any card that is adjacent to it will get a empower or damage boost. So if you have maybe 5 damage on a fireball and you have a slash, use slash first and then use fireball, and that'll be 8 damage instead of 5. Same thing with smite. If you decide to use fireball and hit the target for 5 damage, smite would have an empower ability and be able to do more damage, maybe on top of a duration of weakness. So that's how the mechanic in this game would go. I do like the empower ability, being able to have higher damage cards or being able to have higher boost with your shield. And then every once in a while, you'll have a retry token where if the party dies or you're about to die, you press the button on the very bottom right side of the screen, and the whole party will resurrect. And then you'll be able to do the battle again without having to lose any character, or you wouldn't die from a boss fight, and you could start over again. I think there's only like 1 per run. There might be more. It depends upon what more modifiers you add. But my understanding of this game is that you are basically going in dungeons, you're fighting these different bosses, and it's kind of like that weird old dungeon vibe to where you have the party members on the bottom, and any attacks you do is like, whether it be like an RPG effect or like a first-person type of dungeon diver. Like, I can't remember the old DOS games, but there was one to where you would go inside these cobblestone hallways and just fight monsters and start swinging your sword, but it wouldn't have a sword in front of you. kind of like that. But I was getting the vibe when I was playing this game of like swinging my sword, having the nice effects of using Holy Shield and having block, being able to do Fireball that does 8 damage in the middle and 3 damage on the side, which does deal with waves a lot easier. In closing before the end of the video, what do I think of the game? Personally, for the full asking price, about $13, I can see how it might be like pretty bare bones with not a whole lot of content, and you might go through it pretty fast. But I could also see it being a gem, because if they added more content to the game, and they decided to add more abilities, more trinkets, more cards, being able to add more modifiers, have more replayability. The replayability I do remember in a lot of the comments section was not really a thing, or some people just couldn't find it. I do see it there, and being a small kind of roguelike, having these different, events or different shops that you go to, and having like different choosing of cards and increasing your deck, making it more powerful, dealing with debuffs and having to deal with the empower ability, which I do find another negative about the game, which was a boss called the Old One, which is a turtle, and he gets invulnerability. In the game, it states that if you use a card next to an adjacent card, it gets empower. So when I do that on the Old One, the turtle doesn't take any damage per se. It's supposed to get rid of the invulnerability, but doesn't. And it's basically a god, so you can't really do anything about it. Hopefully that gets fixed, because I had a problem with that specific boss alone. Anybody else wasn't much of an issue. Queen Ella was just, you smack her until she dies, and she'll summon minions that you have to destroy. And if you kill those minions, it would do 25 damage to her, so it would be able to kill her faster. Kind of like in another game I played called Beneath the Ressa, to where if you kill a specific creature that's near another creature, it'll do 25 damage to them. Similar to what Queen Ella does with her minions when she summons them, which sometimes she'll also do intellect, and that is for one turn she'll boost herself up for the next attack that will be all the characters on board rather than just one designated target. But like I said earlier, when it came down to full asking price of $13, I mean, it's still a pretty good game to try out. I do like the combat. I do like the idea of getting trinkets before every fight, as well as upgrading every card. There are other card games like that too, like Fights in Tight Spaces allows you to upgrade or plus a card to where it's higher damage or the highest it could possibly get. Then you have Beneath the Ressa that does the same thing with higher attack damage or more effect cards. Then Nitro Kid was another game similar to it, where you got infusions, and you had cards that were pluses that would be able to get you more of a specific card, or did more damage, or boosted somebody else. So if you're looking for like a dungeon diving type of hack and slash card game, I'd definitely pick this one up for about $10 on Steam until November 7th is when the sale ends. If not, and you get the game and it's $13 asking price, I still say it's a little bit high for that, but for a couple dollars more for a card game that's like a dungeon diver with 7 different characters, because I think there's 7 characters in total besides the 3 that you normally have right now, which again, a cleric, a warrior, and a sorcerer are pretty useful to have, and deals with a lot of the different pesky units other than maybe some of the bigger bosses that are tough to deal with, because you have to learn their whole mechanic, what they do for the after effects, and so on. But anyway, I've been One Nut Punch, and this has been another video. Thanks for watching as per usual. Still got some other stuff to work on, maybe some other games like Inkbound's coming out with a new update for their 2 new aspects. 2 new characters of the game, which is Chainbreaker and Godkeeper, and I'm working on some other stuff for some other games. But anyway, I'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching.